Okay, next installment. We have the Bronco concept vehicle here. What we're going to demonstrate in this lecture is how to model the front section and the grille. Again, making it a low poly control cage, smoothable mesh with efficient insets that can be rendered out at any resolution. Alright, so we're going to begin here. I'm going to just go ahead and delete this old one, and let's go ahead and hide the rest of this other geometry. Don't need the wheels. Yeah, that's pretty good. Let's go ahead and load the front reference image and pop over to the orthographic viewport here. So I'm going to first model this exterior section, which goes from here to around here and to the middle. It has a cutout here for the winch, a cutout here for, I believe it's kind of like a trailer hitch, and then a cutout here for either fog lights or some sort of a turn signal. It's probably fog lights. So let's go ahead and start. This one I just want to do it using a simple box model. So I'm going to start off by going to polygon mode, create polygon primitives cube. I'm going to click right here, hold down the shift key, and create a polycube. I'm going to overshoot the dimensions here because I plan on rounding this later, and I don't want it to shrink too badly. So that looks good. I'm going to hit insert to move the pivot to be over here to the leading edge, and then I'm going to go ahead and cinch that up to the my center line, and then I'm going to go ahead and scale it out. And I'm just going to kind of mimic the edge loop in my panel up here. That one's a little bit more dense, it's already been smooth, so I'm only going to go every other one or thereabouts. The other thing I want to do is move my piece to actually be in the correct position. So I want it to just kind of rest just below that quarter panel there, and that's a good start. And now all I need to do is go into face mode, and I'm going to go ahead and start extruding. So I'm going to pop over to the orthographic view, and I'm going to say edit mesh extrude. I want to use world mode because I don't want any unintended transformations. I'm going to hit G to extrude again, go to world mode again, G, world mode again, G for extrude again, world mode, G again, world mode, okay, G again, world mode, and now we're going to start to turn the corner. So I'm going to go ahead and rotate my box here, and I'm going to hit G again to extrude it, go to world mode, and I'm going to go about center right there, and I'm going to rotate this guy again. Okay, hit G to extrude that face again, going into world mode. I'm going to move it down to about here. I'm going to rotate it. Flatten it out. So we've effectively turned the corner here. I was actually following my reference image here a little bit too strongly, and I'm going to go ahead and cinch this up a little bit better with my quarter panel. And that's better. And we go ahead and select this face again. I'm going to extrude it, edit mesh extrude, translate it in world mode. G key to extrude it again, go to world mode again. And then we hit the G key again, world mode, and down here, starting to turn the corner, rotate it slightly, G to extrude it again, world mode, translation, rotate, G to extrude that face again, world mode, rotate, G to extrude again, world mode, there we go. At this point I've turned the corner here and this looks correct, but this is not. So what I'm going to do here, make sure that I have that one face selected. That's what I want. So I'm going to pop back to orthographic viewport and I'm going to extrude it again, translate it in world mode, and flatten it out. And now I'm going to go into vertex mode, and I'm just going to pull these points. So I marquee drag to select all the points front and back, and I'm going to pull these guys down to fill out my grill in the actual hole that it fits in. Sorry about that, I had another cat intrusion. Okay, back to building here. I'm going to go into face mode and I'm going to deselect, and I'm going to go ahead and extrude again, world mode. And what I want to do is I want this edge to line up at the extent of my what's going to be a feature cut here to inlay this little fog light. So I want it to straddle it. I don't want it to ride right up on it. So that's a good position for it. I'm then going to vertex mode, marquee drag to select both front and back vertices, pull down to fill in my shape, go into face mode, select, deselect, say edit mesh, extrude, and I want to straddle that feature again. I'm going to go into vertex mode and pull down. In this case, I'm going to make this a little bit uneven just because if I made it straight it would not fit. So that's totally fine. If I wanted to, I could cinch this up, but then I would encroach on my feature. So I'm just going to let it ride about like that. So I'm going to go to face mode, select the faces, deselect the side faces, and I'm going to edit mesh extrude, world mode transformation, moving it over to here, go into vertex mode. I want just a little bit of an arc here to match the arc of my quarter panel. So I'm going to go back to face mode, select, deselect, let's say edit mesh, extrude, world mode transformation. Now I can go ahead and straighten this back up. So I'm going to select these vertices and I'm going to flatten them out using the scale tool. And then I'm going to straddle the sides here of my feature cut. Go back into face mode, select, deselect, edit mesh, extrude, world mode transformation, straddling the side of my feature cut. This one's a little tricky because I'm going to have two feature cuts, so I want to make sure that I have an edge separating these two feature cuts. So I want to go to face mode, select all these faces, deselect the side faces, edit mesh, extrude, world mode transformation, and that looks pretty good. G key to extrude again, world mode transformation. And I'm ready to go ahead and run this one all the way over to my midpoint. And that looks pretty good. Let's go out to the perspective view and see how we did. Make sure that everything's copacetic. Looks good, no mistakes were made. And at this point, we can go ahead and delete these back faces. Because we do not need them anymore. And the side faces here. And I'm going to go into edge mode, and I want to select all my back edges, and I just want to go ahead and translate them back because this thing has quite a bit of depth to it. That's pretty good for now. And at this point, we're ready to go ahead and round this thing off, because if I look at my reference footage, you can see here that this grill is rounded on all edges. So we're going to go ahead and model that in. So the way we're going to do that is to select the edges, edge mode, shift select, and to be judicious with my geometry, I'm only going to bevel the exterior edges. So I'm going to go to edit mesh, bevel. I want to open up the settings. I want it to use the fractional this time, and I'm going to say OK. And that's a pretty severe bevel, but I'm okay with it because sometimes when you're modeling, if you exaggerate things, they look a lot better than if you do them 100% factual. So I'm going to do a little bit more of an exaggerated bevel, and that looks good. So we're okay there. I'm going to go into face mode and delete these extra faces here that the bevel tool likes to throw in on you. Alright, and then now I want to go ahead and just check and see how this thing's going to smooth. So if I select it and hit the 3 key, you can see here that it smooths up rather nicely, and that's looking pretty good. So now what I want to do is I want to subdivide this interior a little bit more. So let's take a look at my front reference images. Front ref im, And let's just make sure that find out actually how many edges we're going to need in order to cut these features in here. So we're going to need an edge here, which could also be pulled down to here. We're going to need one more edge, it looks like here, and then we're going to need an edge here and here. So I think we'd probably be safe by just going into the Edit Mesh, Insert Edge Loop tool, and we want to use an equal multiplier. And I think I'm just going to go ahead and say, do I want 3 or 4? Actually 3 looks pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and accept that. And now we can go about the business of pulling the vertices to basically position the edges in the correct place for our geometry. So I'm just going to go ahead and select these here, pull them up, and this one here, and pull it down. And these two here, I'm just going to go ahead and scale those guys. And scale them up. And what I wanted to do is I just want to have edges straddling my features here, so that when I cut the hole and build the feature out, I'm going to have edges there to support that modification. I'm going to select the vertex here, and I'm going to go ahead and flatten out my feature cut for my little fog lamp. And I went ahead and actually used a second line so that we had a center point on it, which is not entirely necessary, but certainly will help my cause. Okay, so if I wanted to, I could also round that out a bit, and I can pull this one down and this one down. Actually, I could cinch that one up closer. Okay, that's looking pretty good. And then just so we have a center point, let's go ahead and insert another edge loop here. And I'm going to do a single, and I just want to go right down the middle. And all I'm trying to do here is just get a center point for my feature cut. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. It may look slightly wonky at the time, but this is all necessary in order to cut these features into the grill here. So the first one we're going to do is the fog lamp cutout. So what I want to do here is I want to create a polygon primitive. I'm going to do a cylinder and divisions on this one. I could get away with pretty much anything from a 6 to an 8. If I do a 6, it'll actually go in there almost perfectly. So I'm going to go ahead and do a 6. And I'm just going to go ahead and create it. But now that I see the 6, I'm just not that stoked about it. But it's probably the best one to use, so I'm going to go ahead and use it. Hit Insert, Insert, hold down the V key, and I want to move the center of the cylinder to the front there of the cylinder. And now I'm going to hold down the V key again to turn on vertex snapping. And I want to position my little fog lamp here right there at the front of my mesh. Okay. Now at this point I am safe to go ahead and delete the faces I no longer need, and let's just say I want to make this thing a little deeper. There we go. And now I can go into face mode and I can delete the front faces off of my fog lamp here. And then I'm going to go into edge mode and I'm going to shift select to select the entire ring, and I'm going to say edit mesh extrude, and I'm going to go into world mode and I'm going to scale it, and I just want to scale them out. I don't really care where they end up at this point because I'm going to pull those all in later and fix this thing up. So what I want to do now is I want to add a bevel to the internal and external edges. So I'm going to shift select, double click to select the ring, and I'm going to say edit mesh, bevel, and I'm going to change my offset, and I'm just going to try to mimic the bevel there for depth, and the number of segments. This time I'm going to do 3. Okay, that looks good. And let's go ahead and commit that. It looks really good. If I hit the 3 key to smooth it, you can see here I get a nice circle. It's got a nice internal and external bevel, and that's what I wanted. So I'm ready to go. Right now though, it kind of overshoots my cutout area, so I'm just going to go ahead and scale it down a little bit to get it to fit here. And that looks good. So now all I need to do is go into vertex mode, hit the W key for move, hold down the vertex snapping, and snap all these verts so that they correspond to the vertices. And at this point I totally realized that I should have used an 8-sided. I should have counted. I'm getting lazy. I'm just going to do that all over again. I'm going to say create polygon, primitives, cylinder, and I'm going to make it 8-sided this time. I knew I was right the first time. And I'm going to move it up to the front of my model where it's supposed to go. I'm going to hit the insert key. I'm going to move the pivot to the front of the cylinder, and then I'm going to hold down the V key for snap to vertex, and I'm going to get it flush with my grill here, and then I'm going to go ahead and position it. Okay, and we're going to scale the whole thing down just a little bit to fit right inside of there snugly. And now I'm going to go into face mode, and I'm going to select all these front faces and delete them. And now I can go into edge mode and double click, shift double click. Before I do that, I want to scale this thing back just a little bit. I'm going to go into edge mode again, shift double click, shift double click to select the rings, and whoops, shift double click to select the rings, and I want to say edit mesh extrude. I want to do this in world mode, and I just want to use the scale. And this will guarantee that all my verts are going to be flush with the grill here. Now that I've done that, I'm going to shift double click to select the internal and external ring. I'm going to say edit mesh, bevel, because I want to add a nice roundness. I'm going to try to match that as closely as I can. That looks good. Number of segments, I want to do 3. Got a nice little interior and exterior bevel. That looks great. Test it for smoothness by hitting the 3 key. Looks great. Hit the 1 key to get back to the control cage. Now I just need to snap these vertices to the extent of my feature cut hole. One at a time, and this one could be moved a little bit to get a better result. So I'm going to go in here, and there we go. Not a whole lot of leeway on that one, so we're just going to leave it alone. And you could pretty those up a little bit if you wanted to. I'm not going to worry about it because I just want to show you how to do this. If you want to make it pretty when you do it, that's totally your prerogative. Okay, now I want to go ahead and merge these two pieces together. So before I do that, I'm going to select them both and hit Control D to duplicate. And I'm going to send the duplicates to the originals folder, so that I have a means to get back if I ever needed to. So now I am going to go to Edit Mesh, Combine, and I'm going to go into Vertex mode, select all my verts, and I want to merge them. So my threshold was too high right there, so I'm going to reset it to the default. And I got some pretty fugly results there, and I know why that is, because my face normals are probably oriented in different directions. They are. So I clicked both objects and I went to display the face normals, and the face normals are inverted on this one, so I need to invert them. Click face normals again to hide it, and now I'm going to say Mesh Combine. And now I can go ahead and merge the vertices. So I'm going to say Edit Mesh Merge. There we go. The vertices are merged. And now I can hit the 3 key for a sub D smooth and just see how I did. Wow, that looks pretty good. So pretty clean. Alright, so now we just need to do that again for cutout for the trailer hitch and the cutout here for the winch. So let's go ahead and create a couple of primitives. I'm going to create a polygon primitive cube. Hold down the shift key to make it square, and then I'm going to go ahead and move it up to the front of my grill here. I'm going to hit the insert key, hold down the V key, and I want to snap the center of the box to the front of it, and then I'm going to hold down the V key and I want to snap it and make it flush with my grill here. Now that I know that it's flush, I'm going to go into the orthographic viewport, and I'm just going to go into vertex mode, and my annoying grill is popping in and out on me. So I'm going to go ahead and assign it to a layer and reference it for now, so that I don't keep competing with it. And I'm just going to go ahead and pull the verts down here. I'm going to center, actually I don't want to center the pivot on this, because if I do it's going to mess up my transform. So I'm going to just scale it up uniform a little bit, and then I want to move it to be in position so that when I smooth it, I just realized it was probably easier to do this by pulling the verts. Okay, looks like that's about where the bevel starts. So that's what I want to do. And it doesn't have to be totally precise, it just has to look good. So there we go. At this point I can actually duplicate this piece because I want to reuse that shape on the other side, so I don't have to go through all that again. And I'm just going to go into vertex mode, and I'm going to pull these points over and up and down and over. Okay, so I got my two feature cut boxes, and I got my hole that it's going to go into as soon as I delete that face right there. And then I want to go ahead and go into face mode again here, and I want to delete that face as well. Then I want to go into edge mode, and before I do that though, my box is slightly shallow, so I just want to make it a little deeper. I really have no information as to how deep that feature actually is, so I'm just going to make it about as deep as my fog lamp features box. This one, however, I know is probably deep and is at a minimum square because it houses a winch, which is a circular item the cable wraps around, and that's got to be at a minimum close to square. So there we go. Now I'm going to go into edge mode, and I'm going to shift select, shift double click. I want to select the interior set of edges and the exterior. Whoops. And actually on this one I need to select all the edges, and I'm going to bevel them all. So there we go, we have all the edges selected, and I'm going to say polygons, edit mesh, bevel, and I'm going to change the offset. And I made one mistake because before I beveled that I needed to extrude the exterior edges. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to go into world mode. I want world mode scale, and I'm going to scale these up and out. There we go. Now that I have that extra set of edges, now I want to bevel those interior edges. So I'm going to select them all, and I'm going to say edit mesh, bevel, and let's change the offset there. Again, we want to mimic the same depth of the offset on that feature, and the number of segments should probably be 3. And I don't like this. I don't believe, maybe I didn't want those. Basically, I just didn't like the way the bevel tool was actually beveling those. And let's see. It's possible that that would be easier, so I'm going to go to edit mesh, bevel again, and And let's just see what the difference is. Segments, I want 2 at least. Oh yeah, this is easier. Okay, and let's go ahead and segments, let's do 3. Alright, that looks good. All I'm going to do is I'm just going to collapse these guys. And that's going to work fine. So that looks good. Let's just go ahead and fix this thing up a little bit. What I want to do here is I want to merge these to center. Okay, after much debate here, I've decided the easiest way for me to do this is to select the interior and exterior edges and bevel those. So I'm going to say Edit Mesh, Bevel, and the offset, I want to take it down, and the number of segments, I want to do 3. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use the split polygon tool to cut my extra edges in here to make sure that this thing will smooth properly. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go into face mode here. Let's say Edit Mesh, Extrude, World Mode, Scale, and I just want to give myself an internal box here also to tie into. So now what happens here is if I smooth this by hitting the 3 key, see how it turns into an oval? That's not what I want. I want this thing to have a tight edge, and the way that I'm going to be able to do that is by cutting it up. So I'm going to go into Edit Mesh, Interactive Split tool, and what I want to do is I want to start here, and I just want to cut another couple edges on both sides of each one of my corners so that it rounds a little bit, but not like a oval shaped mirror like it was right there. Oops. Got a little out of hand there. Okay, just going to keep going. Got a little out of control on that one. That's fine because I'm going to fix it by welding the vertices. And one more to cut. Okay, now I probably got a bunch of strays here, stray vertices, duplicates and whatnot, and I'm just going to go ahead and merge those. So I'm going to say edit mesh merge, and let's make sure that I had a threshold that was good enough to do it all. It looks like it did. And I'm going to go into object mode and hit the 3 key, and there we go. The sub D preview shows that this thing will smooth, and it looks decent. So I just want to maybe scale it down a little bit. There we go. I just want to make sure that it fits inside of that box a little bit cleaner. And I'm going to go into vertex mode, and I'm going to reference the grill so I'm not competing with it. W for move, V for vertex snap, and I want to snap these vertices to fit into the hole that I made it for. There we go. Now I can go ahead and merge the two, but before I do it I'm going to create a duplicate of them and add those to the originals folder. And now I'm going to go ahead and say edit mesh, combine, vertex, and I want to merge the vertices. There we go. Let's go ahead and select this guy. Oh no. Okay, had a little bit of a false alarm there. I did not understand why when I went to smooth this thing in sub D mode that I had this erosion here around the edge, and this is key example of the difference between sub D smoothing and polygon smooth. So if I add a polygon smooth to my mesh here, you can see here that it does not erode, and it looks correct. That's how we want it to look. And since we're going to be using poly smooth for the final render, that's the way it's going to go. So we'll go ahead and render it again. That looks absolutely great. So this is proving out, and let's go ahead and remove that smooth though, because I don't really want it on there until render time. So I'm going to go ahead and delete the history, and let's go ahead and finish the cutout for the winch. So I'm going to go to face mode and delete the face there, and then go to face mode here and delete the face off the front of this box. Then I'm going to go into edge mode and shift double click, deselect the ring or on the front. I'm going to say edit mesh extrude, click for world mode, click for scale, scale it out. Okay. And now what I want to do is bevel the interior edges here. But first, let's just give this thing a little bit more breathing room. on the edges. Okay. And I made a slight mistake here because I left these faces on, and I do not need those faces because this one is going to get mirrored to itself. So I'm going to select these vertices and flatten them out and line these up with the rest of the meshes. Okay, now we can go into edge mode. I want to select the interior and the exterior edges, and then I want to go ahead and add a bevel. And we'll change the offset just a little bit. And the number of segments, I want to do 3. And that looks good. Now all I need to do is go into Edit Mesh, Interactive Split. Before I do that, I want to save this scene because that Interactive Split tool has a tendency to crash at just the wrong time. And if this thing crashed at this point, I would have just lost all my work. So we didn't want that. Alright, so let's go ahead and Interactive Split so that I can harden up the corners of this box. So I'm going to say Edit Mesh, Interactive Split Tool. And what I want to do before I do that is I also want to select this face here, and I want to extrude it and scale it down just to give basically when you cut the box in here like this, it just gives the smooth algorithm another interior set of edges to grab onto, and it keeps it from kind of over eroding to the outside. So that's the only reason I do that, is just to kind of help block against the over erosion of the smooth modifier. Okay, let's go ahead and do that up a bit. It's kind of weird. Those seem like they bloomed. It looks like it's just the outside one. It just kind of bloomed up a little bit on me. Not sure why, but I just want to fix it a little bit. Okay. And let's now go into the Interactive Split tool. Oops. And again, I'm just hardening up the edges here so that when we smooth this, it doesn't erode my corners, and the corners stay fairly hard. Kind of looking for like a medium hard edge here. So that's why I'm spacing this out a little farther. And I'm being kind of loose with this. I'm probably not being as precise as I would if I were really modeling this, but since I'm just demoing it for instruction purposes, I'm definitely approaching this a little looser than I normally would. So I'm going to go to vertex mode now that I've drawn that in. I definitely know I made some mistakes and I want to fix those. So I just blanket select all those vertices and use a merge with a relatively high tolerance. Way too high. 0.01, let's try 0.05. Whoops. Too high. 0.02. There we go. Okay, now we've got all those vertices welded. Let's go ahead and do a quick smooth here. Let's see what that looks like. I saw an artifact here, and if there's just an edge out here, it should definitely not smooth to the center. So when I hit the 3 key here and I saw that erosion, I knew there must have been something wrong here, and sure enough there is a face here from the bevel that we need to delete. So we'll get rid of that, go to object mode, hit the 3 key, and there we go. That's much more like it. Those are of course over eroding, as they will tend to do. And now I'm going to go into vertex mode and W for move. Hold down the V key for snap to vertex. Okay, and now I've got my box built in to my feature hole here, and that looks pretty good. At this point I can center these verts up on that line, and that's a little bit more like it. This one has no reason to be all the way up there either. Alright, that looks good. Now I'm going to go ahead and make a duplicate, send those to the originals layer, and now take my object and I'm going to say edit mesh, or mesh, so combine the vertex, and I really just want to merge these verts for the winch cutout that I just put in there, and merge, and there we go. I can go to object mode, delete the history, do a quick preview with sub Ds. It over erodes in sub D mode on this one, so all I need to do is add a poly smooth, and there we go. That's what it should look like. And there we go. We've got our grill with these nice little feature cut holes for the winch, the hitch, and the fog lamp. And now we're ready to go ahead and finish the rest of the grill, including a custom font for the Ford Bronco logo. So I'm going to take a break for a second, and when we come back we're going to do the rest. Okay, let's go ahead and finish the rest of this grill, and I'm going to select the grill here, and I'm going to go into CV curve linear. I'm going to hold down the V key for snap to vertex, and I'm just going to go ahead and snap along all my vertices here, along the interior of my grill piece here. And I'm going to go ahead and say enter to commit that change. I'm going to then center the pivot of that line, and go into insert mode and just move that down a bit, and then I'm going to say edit, duplicate special, and I want to duplicate with a -1 in Y to basically make a mirror copy of that line. Down, and then I'm going to select the other line, and I'm going to say surfaces, loft, and there we go. I just wanted a background here to kind of block in my grill, and that looks fine. So we're going to go ahead and keep that. Now what we want to do is let's just go ahead and take a look at our reference footage. So we'll show the front ref. And what we have here is we have these grill elements. We have a headlight. But we have this right here, which is a custom font. This is Ford's Bronco logo. So we need to come up with a strategy for how we're going to model these letters. So I kind of want to show you a pretty good technique for doing this kind of a thing. So the first thing I want to do is I want to create a polygon plane in the front view. So I'm going to say create polygon primitives, plane. I'm going to hold down Shift key to make it square. Make it a little bigger than it needs to be. And now I'm going to go ahead and just scale it out. Then what I'm going to do is move it up to the front of the vehicle to approximately where we think those letters would go. So looks like they'll probably be flush with the grill itself, so that looks pretty good. And then I want to make this thing live because I want to be able to draw right on top of it. So the first letter I'm going to go ahead and do is the N here. So I'm going to go into CV curve mode, linear degree, and I'm just going to pick a starting point. So there, that looks good. And then I want 1, 2, 3, Shift key for straight, 1, 2, 3, Shift key to keep the line straight. Oh, that does not work when you're drawing on a live surface apparently. So that's okay. I'll freeform it. Okay, so I've drawn my letter here, and I'm competing with this piece right here, so I want to go ahead and add that. And I'm going to add this as well to this layer so that I can reference it so that I'm not competing with it as a selection item. And there we go. Now I can go into control vertex mode. And I can just do a little tweaking on my letter here. Alright, that looks pretty good. So it's not perfect, and I would certainly spend more time on this if I were actually modeling this for real, but this is a demo, so I'm going to keep all the imperfections. So now I'm going to go select the curve, and I'm going to say edit curves, open close curves, I'm going to check the control vertices to make sure it didn't add an extra one there. It did not. So now I've got my block N outline shape, but I need to turn this into a three-dimensional letter. So a quick and easy way to do that is to select the letter, and now I want to go to Create Arc Tools, 2-point circular arc. I'm going to hold down the C key to snap to the curve to make sure that my arc starts right there on the letter itself. And then I'm going to go ahead and generate my arc. And I want it to be a quarter arc. That looks good. And then I'm going to hit the insert key because I want to have the pivot point be at the origin of the arc itself. Alright, that looks good. So now what I want to do is create a layer for my construction plane there. And I'm going to hide that for now. And I'm going to select my little arc here, and I just want to scale it up a bit. Now I can select my arc and my letter shape, and I can say surfaces extrude. And what we have here is a nice outline. And I'll just flip this around to get my fillet oriented in the correct direction. Okay, looks good. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create basically some shapes for the interior here of this letter. So I'm going to re-show my construction plane, make it live again, and this time I want to go into polygon mode, and I want to create polygon. So I'm going to just go ahead and go here, 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 and here, enter, create a polygon. I'm going to go ahead and hit G to enter the tool again, and I'm going to hold down V for vertex snapping. There we go. And I'm going to create another one. And let's go ahead and create another one. And now I need to subdivide this thing up a little bit so that I can attach everything. I just need an extra edge here so that this can attach to this. So I'm going to edit mesh, insert edge loop, and I need to check the settings because I want to use relative distance from edge. There we go. Now I can go into vertice mode and what I need to do is tighten up all these polys so that they kind of form the interior of the letter. flatten that out, flatten that out. Okay, that looks pretty good. Go to vertex mode, W, hold down the V key for snap to vertex. Okay, and now I'm going to merge all these polygons together. I'm going to say mesh, combine, and I want to merge their vertices. So I'm going to say mesh, merge. Now I got to move the vertices so that we can combine these correctly. That one needs to be merged to center. Made a bit of a mistake there. Okay. So what this is a front face that's going to act as just that, a front face for my letter. And it's going to allow me to block the letter in without getting all sorts of strange artifacts. So let's go ahead and check the face normals on this. Of course, they're facing all different directions, so I want to go into face mode, normals, and I want to say conform. And now I can flip them. There we go. And now I can combine these objects. So I'm going to hit Control D. I'm going to add these to the originals folder here. And then I'm going to go ahead and combine it. So I'm going to say mesh, combine. And now we can go ahead and bridge these pieces together. And in a second, you'll see why I built the interior end in less detail. And the reason for it is so that I could have a place to tie all these vertices into without having them have to extend across the entire front of the letter itself, which has a tendency to create some normal artifacts that are very undesirable and a little tough to deal with. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select these edges and I'm going to say Edit Mesh, Extrude. I'm going to go into World Mode, go into my front orthographic viewport. Oops. And I'm going to select these vertices here, and I'm going to say merge to center, and then I can just grab them and snap them. So I'm going to do the same thing here, edge, aha. I wondered why I was getting that strange cursor and something had inadvertently gotten turned to live, so I had to turn that off. So I'm going to say extrude, world mode, just move them out of the way here, vertex, select them all, merge to center, W, V, snap, keep going around, edge, going to make a button for merge to center because I'm using it so much. Remember, the way to make a button is to hold down the Shift and Control key when you select that menu item. So if I said Edit Mesh, Merge to Center, and hold down the Shift and Control key, it will create a custom button in my custom shelf. So I'm going to go to Edge, say Edit Mesh, Extrude, Vertex, Merge to Center, Move, V, and let the TDM begin. I still have a bunch more to go. So I'm going to edge mode again. Doesn't matter what happens to those because they're getting merged to center. And I must have been had a little bit of a brain fart here because I just realized I could also go ahead and just select all these edges and say mesh fill hole would also work. And if I do it that way, it's actually a quad, so that's not bad. I think that's probably a little bit better than the way I was doing it. So let's just go ahead and delete all these guys. And we're going to say edge. I'm going to shift select to select the whole hole. Mesh, fill hole. Okay, so I'm going to go into edge mode, shift select, shift double click, select the entire boundary hole, and then I'm going to say mesh fill hole. Okay, now we've got our N built and the front face built. I'm going to go ahead and hit the 3 key to see how that thing will smooth. And that's not looking too bad. Let's see how it looks with the poly smooth. And that's actually much better. Let's do it again with a poly smooth with geometry borders turned off. And that's not bad. And we could go ahead and cut this up further, but I don't think that's necessary. So we're going to go ahead and select the edges. I'm going to shift double click to select the exterior edges, and I'm going to say edit mesh extrude. And now we can add some depth to this block letter. Okay. We got 1 down and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to go. So I'll do one more in front of you, we'll do the O, and then I'm going to pause it and I'll just finish them all, and then I'll come back and we'll pick up where we left off. So let me go ahead and save this scene, and let's go ahead and unhide our construction plane here. And let's go ahead and grab a CV curve tool, degree 1. And let's just go ahead and start here. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And 1. And let's go ahead and do that same thing for the interior. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to go ahead and close both of these. First, I want to make my construction pane to not be live anymore, and I'm going to say I need to go into surfaces mode, and I want to say edit curves, open close curves, control vertex, and I just want to level that guy off. I'm going to select this curve and close it, open close, control vertex. There we go. And now what we need to do is fillet this. So I went ahead and left my fillet curve in there from previously, so we can just go ahead and reuse that guy. So I'm going to hit Control D to duplicate it, and I'm going to snap it. Hold down the C key for snap to curve. I'm going to snap it to my O shape here. And I'm going to select my O shape, and I'm going to say surfaces extrude, and I'm going to select my shape, and I'm going to do the exact same thing again. This time it is backwards, so if I want that to work, I'm going to have to duplicate that curve and make another one. And now I can extrude it, and now I can manipulate it so that I can pop it back around. Okay, so now we have our interior and exterior O fillets, and now we just need to fill in the rest. So I'm going to unhide my construction plane again, and make it live. And I need to create some polygons again, so I'm going to say go into polygon mode, and I'm going to say mesh, create polygon tool, and let's just go ahead and drop a couple verts here. Let's create another one. Okay. These aren't going to be perfect right out of the gate, because I'm going to have to reshape them. I'm also being pretty lazy, and I'm not constructing them in the same order, which is kind of a no-no. But I guess nobody's perfect, right? So let's go ahead and do this. That's good. Okay, let's go ahead and select all these guys now. And we're going to say mesh combine. I'm going to go into vertex mode and we're going to merge them. Now that we have that, all we need to do is combine all these shapes. I'm going to make my plane unlive and hide it. And let's select all my pieces from my O. Control D. I'm going to add these to the original folder. And now I can merge. But before I do that, I want to look at my face normals. Boy, am I glad I did that, because these need to be reversed, and so do these. And now we can go ahead and turn the face normals off, and now I can combine it. So I'm going to say mesh combine. I'm going to go into edge mode, select these edges, and I'm going to say edit mesh bridge. Now if you're trying to bridge and you're not getting the same result as me, it's probably because you need to change your bridge settings. The default is to have 5 divisions. I always turn that to 0 unless otherwise necessary. And 0 will just connect the 2 edges and not add the internal segments with it. Okay, so I'm just bridging all of these by repeating the function by hitting the G key. And then now that I have these quads here, all I have to do is shift select to select the boundary. And I've got these nice quad holes. When all I have to do is say mesh fill hole, and bingo. If I hit the 3 key, it's a little over eroded. This one's a lot easier to fix because I have an internal set of edges. I can actually go into edit mesh and insert edge loop and cut this thing up a bit. And that didn't do what I wanted it to do. So it's not important though what the sub-D smooth does. It's important what the polygon smooth does, and that's not smoothing that great either. So at this point, I believe what needs to be done here is I need to go into the edge mode here. And every letter is different. So I think what happened here was I tried to employ the same strategy that I did for the N, which works well for the N, but for the O, it's not working so well. So give me 1 second here. Okay, so if you ever have erosion problems like that, it's always a function of needing some strategically placed edges. And in the case of the O here, what's happening is there's too great of a span here and too great of a difference between these 2 points here, and so it's creating this over erosion effect. So all we need to do is go into the edit mesh, insert edge loop tool, and you just kind of find the magic number of edges that will create stop the problem. In this case, that was all I needed, was just an extra set of edges down each of the spans, and the problem is solved. If you wanted to tighten it up further, all you'd have to do is add another set of edges, and you can see here that if I do that again and hit the 3 key, that the problem starts getting less and less. Poly modeling, it's always a function of strategically placed edges, so it's just something you always kind of have to keep in mind. I have kind of an over erosion effect going on here with my N as well, so I believe if I added edges here, it would perform the same function. The only issue I have in this case is that I have kind of this odd shape here, and so you can see here that it's a little bit trickier, right? As I insert my edges, they're wanting to go in kind of some bizarre places here. So I would actually just have to fix this by hand, in which case here I'll demonstrate. I'm going to vertex mode here, and I just got to move this over. Oops. Hold down the V key to snap to vertex. And what's going on here? Huh. And these guys here, just need to come over here. I could actually stack them up on top of each other, and that's it. Select all the vertices and say mesh, edit mesh, merge, and I have too high of a threshold, so I'm going to go over here, edit mesh, set this back to 0.1, too high. And 0.002 maybe. This one still didn't go. 0.003. There we go. Got it. Okay. And so, again, just to demonstrate here that some strategically placed edges will improve your smoothing. I could do the same thing on the grill down at the bottom if I wanted to. I don't. So that's how it works. I'm going to go ahead at this point and pause the video and build the rest of the letters, and when you come back I'll have the word Bronco spelled out and we'll finish the rest of the grill. Okay, I would just like to show you guys another way of doing this. You can create your fillet and then just go ahead and bridge the edges. So I'm going to select G to bridge the edge, G to bridge the edge, G to bridge, G to bridge, and one last time, G to bridge. And now all I have to do is select the holes by double clicking to select the edge loop, and then I can say mesh fill hole, and we get some artifacts here, which is what I was trying to avoid originally, but if you cut this up further and smooth it, those artifacts will go away. So I just want to show you what there are some surface artifacts which are really hard to get rid of if you don't do this step. So if we smooth it and render it, you can see that the artifacts are gone, but we've got some over erosion in certain areas, which is not that great, and if you smooth this further it would probably start to eventually cause problems. So all you need to do is go ahead and cut this up a little bit, add some more edges. So I'm going to say insert edge loop, and I'm going to strategically place some loops. That is actually probably enough. I'll confirm that by hitting the 3 key for sub D smooth. Looks good. And if we go ahead and poly smooth it, we can see here that it also works. So we're golden. Remember, when you poly smooth an object, you definitely, if you don't want that exploited vertices here at the edges, like that, you need to unselect geometry borders and say apply, and then you get a nice clean smooth on your edges. Although if you don't have enough internal edges, it can also cause problems, so you just got to watch it and render it out, and those artifacts are gone. Looks good. So we can go ahead and get rid of that poly smooth, and for now we'll just go ahead and use the sub D smooth for preview's sake. And I'm going to go ahead and extrude this to match the rest of my block letters. Okay, and we're getting very close to completing the custom logo here. So I'm going to draw the B, and that'll about do it. So maybe I'll do the B for you so you can see how that works. Let's go and get the CV curve. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Center the pivot on that one and duplicate it and scale it up a bit. Before I duplicate it though, I should clean this one up. So I'm going to say surfaces, edit curves, open close curves, control vertex. Now that I've cleaned that one up, I'll duplicate it and move it down and scale it up. Okay. And let's go ahead and fix this one up. Alright, looks good. Let's go ahead and grab some of these fillet curves. We'll duplicate it move it over, hold down the C for snap to curve, duplicate, move it over, C for snap to curve, duplicate, move it over, and C for snap to curve. I'm going to select the shape, the fillet curve, and the letter profile, and I'm going to say surfaces extrude. Do the same thing. Hit the G key for repeat. And we got our outline for our B. Let's check the face normals. These two need to be reversed. Okay, looks good. I can combine them. And go into edge mode and say bridge, Bridget, bridge. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and add a few more edge loops. We need 1, 2 at least. So let's go to Edit Mesh, insert Edge Loop Tool, and this time I want to add it where I want to add it. So I'm going to say relative distance from edge. Okay. Edge, edge, bridge. Whoops. Man. I forgot to close my curve. No biggie. I will just snap the vertices. And go into edge mode here. And merge those. And then I'm just going to go ahead and select all these. And I'm going to say fill hole. And that screwed up because I have not merged my vertices yet, so I'm going to say Edit Mesh, Merge, and now I can close all these up. There we go, and it's not going to smooth that well at the moment. Going to kind of overcut. And when I merge my vertices, I had my threshold too tight, and it merged some of the verts I didn't want to merge. So the only ones that were stray that I wanted to merge are right there. So I'm going to do it again and say Edit Mesh, Merge Vertex. And the pesky B is almost done. mesh fill hole. Okay. Check and see how it smooths. Not bad. And for good measure, I'm just going to go ahead and add some edge loops. And I want to put them in, or actually I want it mathematically put in. So I'm going to use and I just added a bunch of edges so that I can kind of control the erosion from the smoothing, and that looks good. All I got to do is select my back edge and say edit mesh extrude, and there we go. Looks good. And we get that kind of nonsense faceting going on there in the front, which we can easily fix by just smoothing up the mesh. Okay, so there we go. We got the custom letters drawn out here for Bronco. And now we can go ahead and finish off the rest of this grill. So I'm going to take a quick break and come back and finish the rest. Okay, let's finish off the rest of the grill here. We just have these kind of big old bars and then a headlamp and a fog light. So headlamps are kind of cool. They got a little bit of a HAL 9000 effect here. 2112 reference if you don't know what HAL 9000 is. You should watch the movie, it's very good. Okay, let's go ahead and finish this thing off. So I'm going to do it via box model. I'm going to create a polygon primitive cube, and hold down my shift key to create the box, and I'm going to move it into place flush with my letters here, my block letters. Okay, and I'm just going to go into face mode, and before I do that I want to center my box. Now I'm going to go into face mode, and I'm just going to go ahead and start extruding. First I'm going to line up roughly with the grill here, at first anyway. Then I'm going to say edit mesh extrude. I'm going to go to world mode, extrude, and then here, right around here, it starts changing shape and direction. So I want to come out to about here, G again, and here the grill starts to take a turn, so I want to go ahead and do that. G, I'm going to go into world mode again, G, world mode again. I'm going to use about 4 spans here to complete this direction change. I'm going to go to world mode. And then it kind of looks like this thing just kind of drives right into into the back of the grill here itself. So that looks good. I'm going to just go in from the top view. And I'm going to make all my curves here to be somewhat uniform. Okay. And one thing I do also notice here is that I may have made my grill a little too fat depth-wise. So I'm just going to scale it up a little bit. And then now we're to the point here where we can go ahead and bevel this thing. So before I do that, I'm going to delete the face off the end here. And I'm going to go into edge mode. And I'm going to shift click, double click. And I'm going to go ahead and bevel the front here. So I'm going to say edit mesh bevel. And we want it to bevel, but we don't want it to be that extreme. So that looks a little bit more like it. Number of edges, I want to go to 3. And that looks good. Okie dokie. That looks pretty good. And I can already tell you that when I smooth this, it's going to erode on the corners here and round up. So I'm going to go ahead and have to fix that. I also want to go ahead and delete these silly little faces that the bevel tool seems to always put on. And I'm just going to go ahead and insert some edge loops so that my corners don't erode. So I'm going to go into edit mesh, insert edge loop tool, relative this time. And that'll be all I need to do. And there we go. So looks good. I'll center the pivot on that baby. And I'll duplicate it and bring it down here to my block letters, which are approximately the right size, surprisingly. I'm going to go into face mode, and I need to delete a good portion of this thing. And normally I would, if I was building this for real, I would go ahead and weld these two together. But if I was a student in class and I needed to press on and model something else that was more pressing, I may also just leave that alone. And come back to that later, because on the model the O actually is welded straight to the grill piece, but that'll take a little time, and I would much rather, we know how to do that. I'm sure you guys could figure that out if you needed to do something like that, and I would rather just move on and show you how to do something else that's a little bit more pressing. Okay, that looks good. And I'm just gonna cinch all these over here. Okay. There we go. Let's hide the reference. So we've got a grill here. Custom Bronco letters. And the only thing left is to model this headlamp. So let me grab my reference for that so we can kind of figure out what the shape needs to be before we do this. Okay, so here's my reference for this kind of HAL 9000 looking headlamp. It looks like it's kind of it's got a rim on the outside here with some interior notch pieces, and then it has this interior kind of ridged looking thing with like a glass ball in the center. So let's go ahead and tackle the exterior portion first. Let's do this shape here. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go into my plane here, and I'm going to use this directly and just make it live. Let's see. And actually don't need to make that live. What I need to do is just draw a profile shape for the headlamp right here. So I'm going to go into my CV curve tool, and I think that that shape would be something like this. Okay, I'm going to center the pivot. And insert. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to show my front reference. I'm going to move this up to be at the top of my headlamp. And then I'm going to hit the insert key, and I'm going to move my center down to the center of the headlight. And then I'm going to just go ahead and revolve this. So I'm going to go into surface mode, and I'm going to say revolve. I want my output type to be polygons. Oops. And the revolve axis I want to be Z. And I don't think I want 64. I think 32 is probably pretty good. Because again, this piece, I'm designing it to be smoothed. So I don't really need it. Okay, so it goes like that. Good. And then we have these little internal notch pieces. Okay, this thing could probably be a little taller, actually. At least it needs to have a wider base, more of a bevel. So I'm going to grab these points here, scale it up. I have my construction history on. That looks better. Okay. And then now let's go ahead and create the notch pieces. So we've got these little notch pieces that stick out. For this, I'm just going to go ahead and use a little old cube. Hold down the shift key to make it square and move it to be centered. Scale it down a beat, and we'll move these up to be positioned inside of our headlamp. And then I'm going to hit the insert key and center it on my headlight here. And then I'm just going to go ahead and duplicate it and rotate it. And then I'm going to say edit, duplicate with transform. So shift D. Okay. And it's not quite perfect. So I'm just going to grab all these. And I'm going to group them. And I'm going to center the pivot. Okay. Looks good. And then now I want to draw this kind of complicated shape here, which is just a bunch of emanating kind of accordions, almost like the interior of a camera lens. It's probably really a Fresnel lens, but since we don't really know what it is, I'm just kind of going to make a cool looking shape that will approximate what this thing looks like. So let's go ahead and go into the top view. And let's see where it starts. Okay, so it starts about right here. So almost to the extent of the frame. So I'm going to grab my CV curve. And how many, I need to see how many ridges there are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So what I'm going to do is just start drawing so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then now I just need to make the HAL 9000 eyeball. And I'm going to center my pivot. And I'm going to move it to be at the head of my curve here, which I'm now going to place in position with my light. Okay. So very hard, of course, to get the scale right here when you're drawing from the side. Hey, sorry about that. That was another late night cat raid. Our youngest cat likes to chew the cables of expensive camera equipment, and this instructor cannot have that, so he has to kick her out whenever she tries to come in. Okay, so I've got my little shape curve here, and I've got it centered up, and you can guess all I'm going to do is revolve it, and there we go. That looks decent. I just want to recess this this bulb a little bit. Do not think that should pop out the way it is. It should actually be maybe something like this. So surfaces were, oops, no. Surfaces. There we go. So I actually just modeled the interior of the headlamp, which you guys do not even need to do for this assignment. But if you wanted to, you could do it. That's provided you get everything else done first. Okay, so there's that, and then in this case there would be one more element to this headlamp, and that would be a glass enclosure that goes over the top of it. So let's go ahead and draw that out. So I'm going to just draw one more piece here. And I'm going to change the pivot. So that I can revolve it. So I'm going to say surfaces, oops, wrong one. Surfaces, revolve. And I'm going to center this pivot up. And now we've got the glass enclosure for our headlamp. Scale it up a bit so that it fits inside of there. And now if I wanted to show off the work of my interior lamp here, what I'm going to need to do is assign a new material. Why don't we go ahead and use a blend for this. And we'll go to material attributes, blend, and I'm going to just make this transparent a bit, like about a 50%, so that we can see the interior pieces of the headlamp that I just modeled. And why don't we go ahead and save this. And that'll do it for the grill. All we need to do now is select everything. And the easiest way to do that might be to hide everything else. And I can get rid of some of my construction curves now. This belongs in the window frame. Okay. Don't need that anymore. So all I need to do here, select all this stuff, including the grill and the back plate. I'm going to group it, and I'm going to say duplicate special. Reset, and I want to scale it across the x-axis, and there we go. All I would need to do further for this, runtime error, pause. Okay, there we go. We've got the front grill modeled, headlamp, and interior pieces of the headlamp, and everything's looking pretty decent. All I would need to do now would, if I were completely finished here, would be to just combine these poly objects and weld their vertices down the center, and that would be a wrap. But since everything is not complete yet, I would not do that until I was 100% sure that I was finished. So by leaving it at this state, you still have the chance of editing something if you wanted to change it. But that'll conclude this lecture, and I hope you guys have gained insight into how the whole process works. I know that this is a simplistic model, but the reason we're using this one is for demo purposes, so you can just grasp the concept and I can show you the modeling techniques, and then you can employ them on a more difficult model. Or not. You could do one that's a little bit easier like this, and that would also be totally acceptable. So good luck, and I will see you guys on the next lecture. Thanks.